Welcome everybody, Jason Overly with Overly Equipment.
Morning everybody, I'm Jason and welcome to the channel. The last couple videos we did on the Ford LGT 125, and I said we're going to do a follow-up on our Cadet original. So today I thought we would dive into pulling the carburetor off, pulling the valve cover off, adjusting the valves because they were tapping. Now I did get the tractor running when I did buy it. It sort of ran when I first got it, and all I really did was put fuel in it, clean the fuel bowl out, and it fired up. Not running great, but you know, today I figured we would take the carburetor off, we'll get that rebuilt, we'll adjust the valves, we're going to pull the cylinder head, get that cleaned up, put a new valve, new gasket on it, new points push rod, whole works. This way, there's nothing left to do. Everything, I want it all ready to go. So we're going to get into that today, and I also wanted to show you, I didn't video of it, but I told you about the wheels on the last video, and I did get them mounted up, and I should have took a video of it, but again, that's just me. I didn't get a chance to. And you're wondering how I did the dual wheels. Well, I didn't buy adapters or anything, and what I did have is a set of wheel weights, and you can't see, but there's a set of wheel weights. And I should take this apart to actually show you, but maybe in another video when I put new tires on this, maybe go to restore this. But what this is there's two sets of wheel weights in there that work as spacers and weights like I wanted. Now I'll show you on these wheel weights because I bought them set off of a fellow off a marketplace. And these wheel weights, there were several different manufacturers of wheel weights and for different applications naturally. They make the inside wheel weight, which this hole is a lot bigger to slip over the axle hubs. Let me see here. They make wheel weights that slip over the axle hubs, and you can bolt them to the inside and also have outside. So they made a lot of different manufacturers of wheel weights. Now I have I bought 7/16 fine thread. I think it's 7/16 24 all thread. I ran them through on the long side there, and then I added a third one that was a cutoff, and then the wheel weights pulled in, and then they also held it whole. So everything's nice and true like it should be, and everything, like I said, the wheel weights work as a spacer, so they're not actually hitting. Worked out pretty good. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time, finding those wheel weights with finding the wheel weights with the big hole in them. I've had plenty of them over the past couple years, and I wanted to get that done for this because the tractor needs weight on that upper side. Like I said, we talked before about putting the skinny tire down in the furrow and putting the duals on it. So this is going to help out tremendously when we go to plow this coming fall. Once we get all the pumpkins out of the garden and everything, we're ready to plow and put our rye in for the winter. We'll always put a cover crop that helps the following year with putting nitrogen back into the ground. So without further ado, let's get into this K161. Okay, I actually went ahead and already took off the fuel tank for this machine, and make it life easier to speed up. It's not that hard to take off a fuel tank. Didn't think you guys would want to see that. We are going to take this carb off. I'm probably going to put I don't know if I have screws for these. I usually put the Allen wrench screws in on these little carburetors. I don't know if they're the same or not. The rebuild kits are the same as far as the bowl gaskets and the floats. They made them all the same for these. This is a 7 horsepower, so they made all that the same on them, but I don't know what we'll get into as far as them screws and whatnot. I would like to change it over because my fat fingers, I can't get in there anymore. Like on the last video, we put those Allen wrenches in there. So we'll pull the old carburetor off. We're going to go through this one as well, and It may need nothing but cleaned up, put back, because this tractor did run. You see, it does run. It's just the valves are out pretty bad. It's either that or the wrist pin, but I think it's the valves. The guy said somebody was in it before him, and it's like, well, I don't judge. People can do whatever they need to do to get by or whatever they got to do. I'm not a professional, so I'm not judging anybody. But when people open them up, I've done this enough and over the years, and like I said, I'm not a professional, but I've done enough of it. I really specialize in the 241s, the 301s, 321s, and then the 341s is my specialty. I don't run across too many K161s or 181s. They're just not out there. I don't get very many tractors with those in. It's a smaller engine. When the older tractors out of the 60s. Actually, our gasket looks good on there. Yay. All right, so got the carburetor off, and we're going to pull that cylinder head too. I want to definitely pull that cylinder head off and see what the dealio is with that. This is why I wanted to take this off. If you can see, let me zoom out here. Mouse house. Yeah, there's mouse houses. So, that's not good as far as, oh yeah, there's mouse houses in there. Partial cooked mouse house too. So, yeah, we're gonna have to get in there and clean all that up, and that'll overheat it. Yeah, it looks like somebody was in the insulation and all that stuff. So we'll get that cleaned up, and then we're going to pull that cylinder head off. I want to get that insulation out of there first, so we're going to get the old air compressor fired up and get that done. Okay, so we did get the mouse house removal taken care of with the air gun and some needle nose pliers, and that. And it is something you're going to want to definitely take into consideration when you buy an old tractor. Definitely do your diligence and go over the whole thing, because you leave that mouse house in there, it'll overheat that engine because the blower, depends on the flywheel, will be clogged, and you'll overheat that engine, and maybe even catch it on fire depending on what is in there. And then you got a tractor fire. And you know too well about that. I have experience with fires, and I don't enjoy them. So anyhow, we're going to pull the cylinder head off of this guy. Take a gander at it. Now, I may replace these bolts. They don't look too bad. They're going to be they would be a grade 8. And I have to keep them in order as well if I decide to reuse them. I usually definitely, if I don't know the last time this cylinder head was pulled or whatever, because these bolts stretch, and Kohler recommends you put new bolts on them anyhow. Some guys do, some guys don't. If I have them, I'll put them in. I may have some grade 8 sitting over there. If not, they may just go back in. We'll see. See where we get. See where we get in this video. See where we get with this project. You know how it is. Oh, yeah, this won't take long. Have it done today, then 3 weeks later, you're finally finishing it up. I get all that. All right. Well, she ain't too bad. It will clean up very nicely. A lot of soot and carbon, which is good. I'll show you that cleaned up. And let's take a look here at the top. It ain't bad. It's burning a little bit of oil, but that's what's to be expected from an older tractor. So I don't. I want to decarbon that as well. Get that all cleaned up. I'm not going to rebuild it because it's not that shiny and clean. That I think it smokes that bad, but it's an old original 161, so you know it is what it is. So we're gonna run it. I'm not rebuilding no engine. I'm not too concerned about that. So get this adjusted down here. We're gonna get into these. We're gonna get into that points cover as well. Check them valves out as well. So we're gonna get we're definitely gonna put a head gasket on there and clean that all up too, and go over that as well. So graphite gasket, I got a new graphite gasket just for that guy. So without further ado, we'll take a break here. We'll get a pause. I'll get these cleaned up, and you can clean these up with a wire wheel, on a drill or a wire brush. These are pretty clean. You want to clean up all the carbon. You don't want to get down below your. You don't want to get down. Let me see this camera here. Hold on. Okay, so it ain't so fuzzy. You want to make sure you're on top dead center compression stroke, so you don't get down in there and mess with those the valve seats with scratching or dinging them or anything. So be very careful of that. So we're going to clean that up. And another reason I wanted to make sure when we do our valve adjustment, I want to make sure I'm at the top dead center and everything else, and make sure everything's all hunky-dory when I do set my valves up as well. So. Okay, so my gasket scraper is actually a 1-inch chisel, carpenter's chisel, wood chisel. I was a carpenter for years, and I had several sets of these and acquired other ones over the years, and I always sacrifice one. The last one burned up in the garage, so it's time for a new one. And they make easy work, and then you can resharpen them. You can get a gasket scraper, I guess, with replacement blades as well, but I'm not a carpenter anymore, and these work great, way better than the razor blade ones, because there's no flex. But you got to watch, because you'll accidentally gouge or nick the surface if you don't watch, especially when that piston, because that piston's aluminum. So be very careful if you do decide to use one. But I like it because you can always resharpen them. Oh yeah, this cleans up really nice. That's looking really good. Brake clean, carburetor clean, whatever. Something to see what you're getting into there. What you're cleaning up, what you're not cleaning up. Looks pretty good. A bit more. Oh yeah. I like the graphite, and we'll blow this all out too, all the holes. And we'll take a tap, and we'll chase those. We'll chase the threads on this as well. So we definitely don't want nothing balled up or cross-threaded or bound when we go to put everything back together. Okay, so we got the cylinder head cleaned up, and these are a pretty big mating surface on these, as you can see on a K161 versus 241 and the bigger engines. These were built for maximum compression. You know a lot of these other. If I had some other cylinder heads, but they all got sort of melted about a year ago, I could do a comparison. But unfortunately, these have valve reliefs in them. But a lot of the newer cylinder heads, this is not here, and there's a lot of engineering and flow checks and all that other stuff that's above my pay grade for these cylinder heads. So these are a high compression cylinder head, is what you want to call it, for these, and it actually has the relief here. I guess that would be part of your quench, is what they call it. And again, that's engineering stuff that it's beyond my pay grade. I'm here just to tune them up and get them running again, and I'm okay with that. So we got the cylinder head cleaned up, and I should check the decking on it. And I can see this is already just running it with the sandpaper on a file, which you can check. You can put it on a stone. We have a stone at work at our machine shop that we could lay this on, and we put big emery cloth on, and you can fine tune it by rubbing the cylinder head over and watching the scratch marks from the emery cloth and see where your high and low spots are, and then you can, again, above my pay grade, put it on a mill it all out, see where your high and low spots are, mill it down. True. Or if it isn't too bad, you can actually sand the cylinder head flat on a stone. I don't recommend a belt sander. Even the 6-inch belt sanders, I don't recommend that. It just isn't truly correct. I mean, you can do it. I've heard people doing it that you're just truing them up, I guess, because your head gasket will take up the unevenness. But on these little heads, I don't know. Maybe you can. I know on the bigger ones, especially a 16, you cannot. So we're going to get into them valves and continue on this project. Okay, so we're going to take this valve cover off and see what we got behind here so we can adjust these valves. I know they were tapping, so and then get them all dialed in. I haven't done a 161 in quite some time, so it looks like somebody was behind this too. For a 60-year-old tractor, it doesn't surprise me that here's what the inside of your cover looks like. I have some new of this. This gets all crumbly, as you can see, and that's not good. It just falls apart. I do have a new breather material I can cut for that, so I'll put some of that on there. Be careful attention. Pay careful attention when removing the reed, so you put it back in the same way. The rubber's still good on that. Just needs the silicone pulled off of it. So here's your outer gasket. I'll put all new gaskets on, and that's yeah. I don't. You can use whatever gasket you want. I found out that anything silicone really doesn't seal as good as like the gasket maker. What the heck, I forget the difference of it. The silicone the silicone peels off nice for the next time you want to do it, but you know. So this reed, just make sure. I guess you don't have to worry about too much on these reeds because they're riveted into the plate. Wow, there we go. They're riveted into the plate. The bigger ones are not. The reeds. There we go. The reed comes off. So that gasket's junk. So the reed's already riveted onto the valve cover on these. So interesting. It's been a while since I did a 161. So that's actually a good thing. So you're not worried about you can't get the reed backwards, and you can get the reeds backwards and the breather's put in the wrong spot, and then the hole's wrong on the bigger ones as well. Alright, so let's see what kind of clearances we're going to have on this. And I don't even know if I could even get in there and show you guys. There's what's inside this. I don't know if this is going to work out well or not because this camera is getting awfully fuzzy when I zoom in. Yeah, I don't even know if you can see anything. Your intake valve should be between 6 and 8 thousandths clearance. And your exhaust should be 17 thousandths and 9 thousandths, or 17 thousandths and 19 thousandths. And that's what we're going to check on these. And I'm going to get a feeler's gauge. And I know you can't see in there. So you're going to almost have to take my word on that. So give me 1 second. I'll grab my feeler's gauge and we'll go in there and check and we'll go over it. Thanks. Okay, so we're back. And upon looking at the valve train, and I don't know if you guys can see or not, they don't have, and I didn't realize this, and I forgot this. I actually did know this, but I just forgot this. The smaller engines, the 6, 7, and 8s, when you build the motor, you put new valves in it, you actually adjust your valve clearance between the lifter and the valve by grinding the valve down and cleaning it up. And the gap's pretty big on these, so someone went a little bit above and beyond, and I would have to put new valves in it. We're not going to get into that. So we're going to put the valve cover back together. It was leaking oil anyhow. We're going to put some good gasket sealer on it, put it back together, put the cylinder head back on, and then we're going to dive into that carburetor. So you learn something new every day. And in my case, I don't know if I remember seeing it and hearing about it before. I don't touch much of these smaller engines. I usually don't. It's always the 10s, the 16s is what I really mostly mess with. I've had these, but I've never rebuilt a little one. I know it's harder to get the parts for the 6, 7s, and 8s anymore. I've just never got into them that much. So we all live and learn, no matter how experienced or whatever. This is a lesson learned for everybody. Had to jog my memory. I had to jump on the old interweb there and go, are these the grindable valve seats? You know, the grindable valves for clearance. And sure enough, that's what they are. So cool. I'm actually okay with that. So that's less work, less money to spend. So we're going to put it back together and we'll go over that carb. I'll shoot a little bit of oil in here. Each one of these holes. Put a 5/16 tap on a drill. Run them down in there. Come on. You could do this by hand as well, but that gets all the gunk out of there. Exhaust is always going to be a little bit tricky because it's down in the exhaust port, so you may have to do it a couple different times. You may have to do it by hand. There we go. Sometimes you gotta, yep, there we go, nice. So then we're gonna clean the bolts up and put this back together there. Okay, so we got our bolts all cleaned up, everything's all hunky-dory on these. Ready to rock and roll. Make sure our gasket's the right way. Sounds like the phone's ringing. Alright, we got our head bolts, our new gasket head bolts in. Set our torque wrench to 15 foot-pounds for these. Then we'll go back and we'll bump it up to 18. Because these are the, I didn't have any 5/16 grade 8 bolts. So we did 15 foot-pounds. 1, 2. Come over here to get number 3. And you guys can probably Google this by now, but it is 15 foot-pounds. But the sequence, I can leave a screenshot of it too. For the actual pattern for your torque. Okay, so here's our carburetor, and we're going to tear into this bad boy. My cheater's on here. Now, normally I would put this in a bench vise, but I can't get the camera angles I want, so put it on this one. Yeah, a little dirty inside there. It's all right, but the bowl, see, the bowl's not that bad at all, so we can clean that up with our parts cleaner. So these are all basically the same. Now this one's for that 161, and if you're rebuilding, it don't matter what you're rebuilding, whether you're building one for a K2 4110 or a 16 horsepower, these are all the same, and the kits are all the same. One thing Kohler did is, yeah, this one's definitely been in there. So you're gonna keep this bolt. We got a new washer. We got all of our new parts up on this end, as you can see. We'll take this off. In fact, this is one of the old brass ones. We're gonna leave this. It's actually, yeah, it's missing it. So we're gonna put that new gasket right on top of there. Okay. See if I can get this old gunk out of there. Screwdrivers, pull it, knife, pen knife. Gotta have a pen knife, folks. I know people don't want you to have that stuff, but it's a tool. Gotta have a pen knife. Clean that ring out of there. It's actually not bad. Well, the tractor ran, so I wasn't expecting it to be all gummed up, and it's probably maybe ain't the best carburetor to do a video on because it's pretty clean, but we're still going to go over it. So we're going to take everything out. If you have a wire wheel on a bench grinder, that's good. This is all cleaned up. We'll hit it with a wire brush, nylon, brass, whatever. Clean these up. Okay, I should have been explaining what I'm taking apart. This is your air screw. This is what you adjusted idle, and we will put these settings before we put it on the tractor to factory settings. And this is your high-speed idle, or your high-speed. This is your high-speed screw. This is when it's running wide open, you adjust this. When it's at idle, you adjust this. We're going to leave this on. We don't want to crack this, and this didn't leak, and I don't want to crack it because someone put sealant on it. I don't want it to leak, so we're going to leave that one alone. Now, I have a filed down socket, and honest to God, I can't remember what size it is, but these go right inside for this seat.
They come right off. I forget what it is. I ground it down. I put it in the drill press and ran an angle grinder on it. Got it all nice and cut down. I think they actually make a socket for that. But again, I'm not buying a socket. I've been using that one for years. Clean up our mating surfaces here. There really ain't much to clean in a carburetor. Really ain't. Now this one's really clean. This ain't a very good video of it, but it gives you an explanation on it. You do want to make sure you clean everything, your bowl and everything before you put it back together. There's not a whole lot to it. One thing you do want to check. Now on these, this one ain't so bad. You actually want to see how much play is in your throttle shaft, and there is no play. You're gonna have the up and down, but we're talking side to side, back and forth movement on that throttle shaft. And these ones here, you would remove the screws. If you can see the screws done in that on the butterfly, you'd remove them screws, pull it out, then you put a new throttle shaft in. Because a lot of times you'll get that little bit of a tiff or a pop when your engine's running, and what that is this throttle shaft is moving back and forth, back and forth. And it's, like I said, this one's fine. But if you're wide open like this is, and this thing will be moving back and forth, left to right, so to speak. And what that does is it allows air to come down through here. And that's what you're getting that noise, and the engine isn't running at the peak. So on the bigger carburetors, and we'll probably do another video on them. So we can actually do a video on a bigger carburetor, which everybody's mostly familiar and what they're more common. We'll do a video on those ones, and I'll show you that, and we'll actually do a throttle shaft replacement on it. But for in the meantime, this is going to be a simple, easy one. Now you could a simple clean, and like I said, I wasn't too concerned about this one. But I wanted to go over because we're tuning it up, put new head gasket on it. We want to clean it. So we're going to clean all of our parts. Use your favorite carb cleaner. And you could test these floats by submerging it, getting an old cup with water and pushing it down and seeing if it floats back up. Look for bubbles. The old brass ones are good. But sometimes the solder there, and these get soldered on there. They miss or break down, or they get pinholes in them from the junk fuel and sitting in it, and it eats them up. So you may want to replace a float. They make brass ones. You can still get them. I don't recommend the plastic, and you know me. I don't recommend the Chinese ones from eBay or certain other places that sell them junk carburetors. Now you can buy those junk carburetors to rebuild your good carter. That's a good idea. I may do a video on that, how to buy an $18 eBay carburetor to rebuild your actual carter. Again, but it's all Chinesium. I still don't recommend any of that. So really, that's not bad. That's all there is to it. What we're going to do is you'll run some compressed air through all your ports, which I do. I hit everything up. Make sure everything's hunky-dory. Now, as you've seen, everything's good. And I'm going to, hopefully you can see, I'm going to pinpoint here. Make sure, now on this carburetor in particular, make sure this hole actually coincides with this hole up here. That's your draft that allows your, again, how do I explain this simply? Engineering and flow. So your carburetor, when your engine runs, it's a vacuum, and it's pulling vacuum through your carburetor. So fuel comes up through your tube, your main jet, so to speak, and that's how you adjust it with this guy, your main jet. So it comes through the emulsion tube. That's what I should say. That's an emulsion tube that comes up through here, pulls your fuel up. See, all your ports have to be nice and clean, so there's no restrictions, no little gunk, because what it does is it creates a turbulence in your flow, and that's why your tractors do not run right. Your engines do not run right. So make sure all your ports are cleaned. This one as well, because when the fuel bowl fills up, that's where it fills up at. Make sure that's all clean, and it is. Set that to the side. Now, These you can put on a wire wheel, clean them up how you want. Be very careful not to damage anything here on these. I clean these up again with the cleaner. You can run emery cloth in them. You want to make sure all your little holes, you got little holes here, make sure all of these are clean. Now you can run a file, a torch file down through there. Or what I do is I plug these two up. Yep, put it in my mouth and give it a good puff of air through there and make sure everything is blowing through there. So if you hold these ones, you've got these holes, you put it in your mouth, you blow through, and you'll hear the air coming out of here. And you can grab this one and back and forth. This way, if there's any debris or anything in there, lint or anything, it's all out of there. And you don't want nothing getting caught up in that. All right, everything looks good. The screws look good. There's no gunk or anything on them. And we sort of figured that out before we dived into here. So on your new kit, now this is a genuine Kohler kit, and I do have aftermarket ones as well. For these, they're pretty much the same, so you want to put your gasket on your needle seat here. And you're going to wind this in, and then we'll get our socket on there. Now the aftermarket ones are a little cheaper. There's not a whole lot of difference in them because I still think they're all being made in Taiwan regardless. But the Kohler one's actually made in the USA. And if you know me and the channel, I like buying USA stuff. Can't get my big fat fingers down in there, so we're going to start it by hand with this. So I can't get my, so I'm a big, it's hard to find anything in America, and you know that. I don't have to explain that to you guys. It's 2024, ain't too much stuff made in America anymore, but I do try. In fact, I just bought a $1,200 washing machine yesterday. It was made in America. So anyhow, so you got your seat in there, put your gasket in there, and then now your needle seat goes in, and this is what's going to control your float, right? So we put that in there for now. You're going to take your O-ring and work him down in there, and he sits in there just like that. And then you're going to take your bowl gasket, put him in there like so, and just let him sit there. Now you do get a new rod for your float, and again, my fat fingers, I can't get in there. So you put your float in there. Now you can adjust your float, but if it's already set from factory, now you want it level, so you can bend the tab. Let me look. I'll show you that real quick while I'm doing it. There's this tab right here, and you adjust it this way or out, and that sets your float. Is it important? Well, yeah, because if you're on a hill or something mowing, you'll run out of fuel. So you want to make sure you got all your float dialed in there, and it's not really super critical. And there's really no, you can actually one of the kits used to have a gauge and how to adjust it correctly. I make sure, because you don't want it flooding your carburetor either. So this is why there we go. That's why I run needle noses. You got to get a good set of needle. There we go. So on that, if you can see, maybe I should take that gasket off so you guys can see it. You can see that when that's down, your needle down in there opens up, allows the fuel down through your through the line and into the bottom of the bowl. And as it rises, it closes, and that's about where you want it, right about there. And it's closing about a level position. This way, if you're on a hill somewhere, you don't run out of fuel to the carburetor. So anyhow, so here we go. Put our gasket back in there, down through this side first, and there we go. All right, we'll let that sit for now. I'm going to clean this bowl up, and this bowl is surprisingly in good shape. I'm really shocked on how clean it is. No, it's not pitted in there, so maybe somebody replaced this I like to clean this up. It's inside is what matters, but if I'm here, I'm gonna do the whole thing. And this is probably a newer bowl, I would assume, because there's like hardly any pitting in it at all. So, and if you have a parts washer, which I've yet to get a new one yet, because I still got to get a new one from the garage fire. Still have yet to buy a big parts washer yet. I just don't do the parts like I used to sell them. I'm tearing them apart, so just haven't had a need for a new parts washer yet. Maybe someday. So. And by all means, you wear rubber gloves if this stuff affects your fingers. I don't want to. Make sure you know, safety first, folks. Safety first. So that's all nice and clean and pretty in there. I like it. Okay, so there we go. So now, these threads are good on this, and we had that washer on there. Put our new gasket on there, like so. Some guys say just take that washer off. Some had the rubber on it. Some had a rubber gasket already on that washer. Some of them did, some of them didn't. Place your bowl on the bottom, put your gasket on there. Wind your bolt in there, and you'll start seeing that bowl gasket form up around there, and make sure it's even all the way around so you got a good seal. But that O-ring has to be in there. Alright, so now how tight do you tight it? One ooga ooga, or just snug. If it starts leaking as you run it, or you put fuel to it, just give it another little snug when it's on the engine. Alright, so that's really simple. Now this is cleaned up. Work your main jet back down in there. Now here's what you're going to do with this guy. You're going to wind this guy all the way until it stops. Now don't force it too much because you don't want to flatten the tip out on the bottom of it. So wind this guy all the way in. Make sure you get a good camera. Wind this guy all the way until it stops. Okay, here's what I do. I put my finger back here. Your slot's lined up towards my fingernail. So you go, take it out. There's one revolution. And then a half a revolution, and that's it. That'll get that thing fired up. Same thing with this. You wind this thing all the way in. That'll at least get the engine to fire, and if it doesn't fire, back it out. Same thing with this. I run this all the way until it stops. Again, put my finger so I have an idea, and it's my tips line up, or whatever you want to use. I just use my finger. You want to come over 1.5. So now I have 1.5 revolutions out on either one. And now we're ready to bolt this bad boy back up in there.
Okay, so we got our carburetor on, fuel tank back on. Didn't take any footage of that. You guys see me put carburetors on before on that last episode on that Ford LGT 125. I did pull the points cover in case I want to dial those in a little better. Fuel's turned on. Let's see if she lights. Well, that was like instant. I like it. New head gasket worked. Rebuilt the carb. Just cleaned it. Not really rebuild, just clean. Guess you want to call it rebuild, whatever. I was going to adjust the points, but my God, it just literally lit off, and no popping, no backfiring. We did put a new condenser on it. I mean, that's like at that point I don't want to touch it. And you can hear that ticking, and I believe that's the valves because of the big gap in between them. But again, I'm not messing with it. It runs good or so far. We'll keep tinkering with it and dial it in if it needs to. But good Lord, that's like the Ford was like, it wasn't like that. This thing's like instant. Like, so that's pretty cool. So we're like, I adjusted the high speed, as you've seen right here, just so it runs wide open there when it was running. Well, I can't say wide open, well, whatever, 3,600 RPM. I guess that's considered wide open, but whatever. So and then it idled and it didn't even stumble at all. Like it's like so. 1.5 turns out, bottom them all the way out, all them screws, bottom them. If you're afraid you don't know what, bottom them all the way out, and then it lights off. That's just a proven theory on all these carters. I'm not sure on the Chinesium carburetors you get off of eBay and these other selected aftermarket sites. I don't know. I've never had good luck with those. Carters, all right. Okay, folks, well, that's going to wrap it up for this video. We'll probably do a little bit of a test and run and plow in the garden, maybe set up here video, and we'll attach it to this one as well. So maybe we'll do that and make one big video of the Cub Cadet original. So, all right, folks, I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you bearing with me through all these videos, and hopefully you learned something, because I know I do. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.
Okay, everybody, as you've seen, we got the Cub Cadet original out there and playing in the dirt. We got some plowing done for the fall. We got everything plowed under, so to speak, and then we'll run a tiller here October, and then we'll get some rye planted in. Yeah, I'm thoroughly impressed for the little Cub Cadet. I'm used to the bigger Fords, which have a lot more weight and power than that little guy. But overall, it did good for a 7 horsepower engine. The belt was probably the weakest link, that 3/8 belt that keeps squeaking and slipping a little bit there. But I mean, honestly, I can't complain about the little thing. So, especially only paying $300 for it, runs and drives, and you know, got the sleeve hitch and everything. So, hope you guys are liking these videos. I'll get some more here this fall. We're gonna get the big tractor out, the big Ford. We'll get everything tilled. We'll get everything planted with some rye, and who knows what other adventure awaits. All right, guys, thanks.